Okay, we're live on YouTube now.
Thank you, Nella.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm gonna open the door so the audience can coming in.
Hello, everyone. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. For those who need interpretation, there's a circle with 3 dots in the bottom right. And if you click on that, you can get the interpretation options. Thank you. Okay, so let's start. So good morning, colleagues. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this webinar, which is Marine Refrigeration, Keeping the Catch Cool from Sea to Shore. I'm Jim Curlin. I'm head of UNEP Ozone Action. And for those who are not familiar with us, we are one of the implementing agencies of the Montreal Protocol's Multilateral Fund. It's a pleasure to see so many participants joining us today for this important discussion on sustainable cold chain solutions for the fishing sector. This webinar is being organized jointly by Ozone Action and the International Institute of Refrigeration. Our longstanding and excellent collaboration reflects our shared commitment to advance sustainable refrigeration solutions and to support developing countries under the Montreal Protocol and its Kigali Amendment. Our aim is to ensure that the national ozone units and their national stakeholders are well informed about the new developments across the cold chain sector, and they're empowered to make decisions that align with their country's environmental and economic priorities. This webinar is the second in the series of 3 sessions dedicated to presenting the cold chain technology briefs, which have been developed under this collaboration. These briefs provide practical guidance and innovative solutions for improving refrigeration systems across different segments of the cold chain, with today's focus being on fishing vessels. The challenges that we face are significant. Inadequate onboard chilling systems lead to food loss, while the continued use of high GWP refrigerants contributes to climate change, which ultimately harms marine ecosystems and the associated livelihoods. Many vessels, specifically in Article 5 parties to the Montreal Protocol, operate with an aging refrigeration fleet that is costly to maintain and inefficient, making containment measures, good servicing practices, and the phased replacement of technology essential to ensure compliance and sustainability. At the same time, by modernizing refrigeration technologies and transitioning to natural refrigerants, such as ammonia and CO2, among others, for new fishing vessels, refrigeration systems, we can reduce emissions, improve seafood quality, and support global environmental goals under the Kigali Amendment. So today, we will hear from leading experts in this field who will share insights on the state-of-the-art refrigeration systems for fishing vessels, the challenges in warm regions, and opportunities for innovation. Your participation and engagement are vital as we move towards solutions that ensure food security, environmental protection, and sustainable development. So thank you for joining us, and let's begin this important conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim, for this introduction. My name is Monique Baha. I'm a scientific writer at the International Institute of Refrigeration, and our objective today is to share key insights from our cold chain technology briefs, namely the one on fishing vessels, to foster dialogue between experts, industry, and policymakers, with the overarching goal to promote sustainable refrigeration across all scales. Our keynote speakers today and lead authors of this cold chain technology brief are Christina Vidal and Erik Svensson, who are both senior research scientists from Sintef Ocean based in Norway. The IIR and Sintef Ocean have collaborated on several projects in the past. Today we welcome Christina and Erik's expertise to present first the state-of-the-art for fishing vessels, refrigeration systems with Christina, and then with Erik we'll discuss challenges and opportunities for future-proof refrigeration aboard fishing vessels. As part of this conversation, we will hear from Alex Reimer as well, who will present a couple of case studies using natural refrigerants on fishing vessels refrigeration systems. We remind our participants to please use the Q&A box for your questions and the chat for comments. My colleagues at IIR, Suhir and Nela, will assist throughout the session. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Christina Vidal, who's a senior research scientist from Sintef Ocean in Norway and also a member of IIR Commission D2. Christina will present the state-of-the-art for fishing vessels refrigeration systems. Christina, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for the introduction. Let me see if I can move here. Yes. Yes, you have probably already heard that about 1/3 of food produced is lost in the world, and that is also the case for fish and seafood. It's not always easy to calculate the volume of seafood lost, but FAO estimates that it is about 30 to 35% for seafood, and even more for small-scale fisheries. Another big challenge with the fishing vessels is the high amount of greenhouse gas emissions they are responsible for. It comes from burning the fuel in the engine and from release of high GWP refrigerants from refrigeration systems on board. However, not all fishing vessels, of course, have refrigeration system on board, and not all have high GWP refrigerants. So why are we then bringing this up? It is because even if countries and regions have rules and regulations, sometimes the fishing vessels have exceptions, but they're also part of the global problem. So climate changes are coming, and we should do everything we can now to mitigate that. This graph here shows the relation between temperature and shelf life for 3 different types of fish. We are from Norway, so these are typical fish species that are found outside our coast. One could believe that when it looks like in the photo here, cooling of the fish is maybe not necessary, as the air and the water is already cold. However, if we look at the graph, we see that there is a big difference in shelf life. If the catch, for example, here is stored at 4 degrees compared to 0 degrees. And the difference here is about 6 days. So IIR estimates that it's a bit slow here, sorry for that. Yes, IIR estimates that 90% of fish and seafood produced for human consumption is lost due to inadequate cold chain. So modernizing the cold chain is important. And for fish and seafood, it often starts with the fishing vessels. And chilling and freezing is not only to prevent food loss, but it also keeps the quality of the fish longer, which is important, as we want to eat fish when it tastes good, of course. And it also includes important nutrients, so it's often recommended that we eat more of it, but we want to eat the fish when it tastes good. There were about 4.9 million fishing vessels in 2022, and the small-scale vessels dominate with about 89% of the total fleet. And 71% of vessels are found in Asia, primarily in China, India, and in Indonesia, which are the largest producers of fish. There are several different types of fishing vessels. Here are an example of some, and about 2/3 of them are motorized. And the names of these also indicate what kind of gear they used for catching the fish. What happens then after they have caught the fish? And this is where the cold chain starts. So different vessels can have different ways of keeping the seafood cold. And there's some examples here, which I will go into in the next slide as well. I have also mentioned live transport here, which is, for example, common when transporting salmon from sea cages to processing plant on land. But it's not very often refrigerated, at least not in Norway. Crustaceans like lobsters and crab are also transported live, and refrigerated seawater can give higher survival rates during summer temperatures, as even in Norway. So now I will present some common types of chilling and freezing on board. So starting with chilling methods. Small vessels, they often don't have refrigeration systems on board. They either have no chilling at all, or they carry ice from the shore. Carrying ice is easy to handle, but it melts, so it might be difficult to estimate the exact volume that is needed. Alternatively, ice or ice slurry can be produced by a refrigeration system installed on board. And this gives some flexibility based on the catch size and trip length. In the rest of my presentation, I'm addressing fishing vessels with refrigeration systems. For larger vessels, this RSV systems, refrigerated seawater, is common. It chills large quantities quickly and cools the seawater, for example, down to -1 or between -1 and 1 degree. And it circulates the seawater, cold seawater, through tanks. That's illustrated also in this here. And then moving on to the freezing method. So if the trips are long, the fish must be frozen. And this photo here shows vertical plate freezers, and where they put the fish in, and each block is then either 25 kilos or 50 kilos of fish. Oh, I think we went too far there. Yeah, other ways of freezing are the horizontal plate freezers, or IQF, individual quick freezing systems that then can handle fillets or portions if these are produced on board. And brine freezing uses salt solutions to lower the freezing point, which then enables faster heat transfer than with air freezing. And the last point here is heat-driven refrigeration systems. So absorption chillers, they use engine heat instead of electricity for producing cold. So in theory, it's useful, but most vessels lack enough surplus heat for demanding tasks like producing RSV or ice on board. Yes. I will just mention briefly why it is especially challenging to work with refrigeration systems on board fishing vessels. So here you can see some of the main issues. The conditions can be very harsh with a lot of movement and vibration. You see also the photo on the top here. And the air is humid, and the equipment are exposed to water and often also salt water. And the space is restricted. You see in the bottom photo here that there's not much extra space, and so everything that you want to install should be compact. And the systems also need to run reliable and consistently. On large vessels, operators can manage the operation and the maintenance, but the smaller vessels often lack the time or the expertise to handle these issues. So if the refrigeration systems are not properly maintained, they can fail, which then lead to food loss or release of refrigerants. And this can then pose health and climate and environmental risks. The other challenge that I mentioned previously is the effect on the climate and the greenhouse gas emissions. There are issues with other pollutants also, but I focus here on the greenhouse gas emissions. Central in this topic is, of course, the fuels that the vessels are using. And there are many efforts now on how to change that, going away from fossil fuels. I will not go into that here, but it includes changing to fuels like hydrogen and ammonia, but also going back to more renewable energy sources. And if you want more information on that, we have also colleagues that I can connect you with. Yeah, but coming back to modernizing the cold chain, it has been estimated that nearly 50% of CO2 emissions can be reduced by modernizing the cold chain, especially changing to energy efficient technology and sustainable refrigerants. A big issue is that R22 is still in use, so even if it should be phased out. Here you can see a number from the International Maritime Organization on leakage of R22. And just to clarify, I don't know all of your background, so when we talk about refrigerants, which I will do now in the next slides, we talk about the working fluids in the refrigeration system. So to say it very simplified, historically, ammonia and R22 have been the main refrigerants for chilling and freezing on board. And this graph here is, it shows a bit old data on annual refrigerant losses. And there might also be better data, but it is actually hard to assess globally since leakage is often not very well monitored. And what is clear is that there are changes needed for refrigerants on fishing vessels. And the Montreal Protocol regulates the phasing out of CFCs and HCFC, which then includes R22 as well. So in high-income countries, production and use should end by 2030, while low and middle-income countries have a longer timeline. And the reason for that is simple. These substances damage the ozone layer when they leak, and leaks are very likely, especially from marine vessels. And they also have high global warming potential, as mentioned before. And several countries have already moved away from R22, so that is good. And the transition can, of course, be costly, but after decades of operation, system replacement is often necessary anyway, and then you should go for the right system. So what are then the alternatives? As mentioned here above, ammonia has been used for decades and highly efficient. It's a natural refrigerant. Coming back to that also the next slide. The other option is HFOs. This is synthetic refrigerants, and they have no ozone depletion potential and is very low GWP, but they break down into harmful substances like TFA, which is a very persistent PFAS compound. And TFA poses both health risks to the operators and long-term environmental impacts. There is also an EU proposal to restrict the HFO use, which could influence global or regional regulations outside of EU as well. And these refrigerants are often expensive due to patent protection. Effective life cycle management of synthetic refrigerants should also be mentioned, because that is crucial to reducing the environmental impact, both during use but also at end of life. And this means proper handling, recovery when systems are retired, and recycling and destruction. Yeah. So because of this, we kind of suggest that we go for the natural refrigerants. So which are then relevant? They have been mentioned before. Ammonia is widely used in large fishing vessels, but systems need to be in a closed machinery room and operated by trained personnel. And training is not only essential for ammonia, but for all refrigeration systems. Something that we should always highlight, and is also something that IIR actively promotes. Compact CO2, carbon dioxide units are gaining in popularity, especially in colder regions. So subcritical and transcritical CO2 systems, they are space saving and energy efficient, and suitable both for RSV chilling and for freezing. And their growing market share is driven by the availability of components, safety considerations, and compactness. In tropical regions with the seawater temperatures around 30 degrees, ammonia remains the most efficient choice for RSV chilling. But for vessels requiring deep freezing, there is a possibility of using cascade systems combining then ammonia and CO2, and then we can reach temperatures down to almost -50, which could be ideal for high value species. So other natural refrigerants are also under development, and my colleagues will share more about the propane system later. And if you are working on these topics, we would like to connect to you, or if you want to more, you can also contact us afterwards. So finally, back to the question, can we solve this on a global level? Yes, definitely. But to work on this globally, we need global policy enforcement, but also investments in innovative technologies. And this won't happen on its own. Funding for research is very essential to drive this innovation and make progress. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you for presenting, explaining to us the importance of modernizing the cold chain, modernizing the refrigeration systems on board fishing vessels, namely for environmental reasons. And now, as you said, we'll go into our second keynote presentation, which will dive even deeper into precisely that, future technological trends in onboard refrigeration. And we would like to welcome Erik Svensson, who's also a senior research scientist from Sintef Ocean in Norway and a member of IR Commission D2. And Erik's presentation will be complemented by Alex Reimer, who will present a few case studies of refrigeration technologies using natural refrigerants. Alex recently completed his master's thesis on refrigeration systems with natural refrigerants for small fishing vessels and will give us information, namely in warm climate conditions. So now, Erik and Alex, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. Happy to be here. Yeah, Christina has just outlined the challenges and the current state of onboard refrigeration, while my task is to look ahead and present that. So I will highlight the technological directions that we see are gaining momentum right now, and also take a longer view on where these developments may lead in the future. And as said, my colleague or our colleague Alex will present some examples of ongoing research that is relevant to the topic of today. But just to set the tone of my presentation, I asked ChatGPT to how does the fishing vessel of the future look like? And the illustration that you see here is what it's produced. And of course, it looks kind of futuristic, even a bit like science fiction, but it actually captures several elements that are already under development. But I think the key point from this little exercise is that it reminds us that the future fishing fleet will not look like the past, and also the onboard refrigeration systems will have to evolve accordingly. When we look at current trends in technology development for the fishing fleet, we are not looking at one breakthrough invention, but the direction is much more systematic. And we have identified and described 4 main drivers that is shaping the ongoing development. And I will go through each of these. And the first is marine adaptation. So the thermal processes on board fishing vessels are essentially the same as onshore. So with that, I mean that chilling is chilling and freezing is freezing. But as Christina already mentioned, what truly differs are the operating conditions. Space can be very limited, and ship owners, they must weigh processing equipment against storage capacity. These are the choices that they have to make. So for the smallest vessels, suitable commercial cooling solutions may not even exist. And this has driven a trend toward developing compact and space-efficient refrigeration units, such as the small CO2 RSV system you will hear more about later. Also, the environment at sea adds further constraints. You have constant motion and you have a corrosive atmosphere, and this requires more robust materials and components with low leakage rates. And on the larger vessels, we see a push to make better use of the catch and also to handle more and different species. And this introduces then new processes on board. So it's not only more equipment in tight spaces, but also new and more varied energy demands. And as a result, the refrigeration systems must be designed to support an even broader range of thermal loads and operating conditions. Digitalization and use of big data is moving quickly. This trend is most visible in regions with larger vessels, where you have multiple onboard data sources that, combined with external data sources, create real opportunities to improve efficiency, reduce emissions, and that also then includes the refrigeration systems. So one example is predictive performance monitoring or early leak detection, where you can use real-time signals and compare it with historical patterns to identify anomalies. But another very promising use case, which extends a bit beyond refrigeration, is the use of data to reduce the time spent on locating fish. So now you have several commercial systems that provide decision support, and these are based on years of catch data. They include migration patterns for different species, and you have weather forecasts. And this helps the crew to find the targeted species faster, which cuts on the fuel use on the way to the fishing grounds. And it also then enables refrigeration systems to operate more efficiently once the production starts. And that is what this illustration is showing. It's an open access tool that visualizes historical catch data for Norwegian waters. The third driver is integration. Let's see. It's not going to the next slide. Perhaps you can help, Monique. The third is integration. So traditionally, cooling, heating, and propulsion have been treated as separate subsystems, and this leads then to inefficiencies. And also with the global shift toward more alternative fuels, hybrid propulsion, and batteries, the energy balance on board is changing. And this both creates opportunities, but also remove opportunities for example, waste energy recovery. So in conventional engines, you produce a substantial amount of surplus heat, both from cooling water of the engines and from the exhaust stream. And this heat can be and is often recovered to supply onboard heating demands. It can produce steam if there's a demand for that, or it can even generate power. But then you have vessels that operate on liquefied natural gas. They can also recover part of the available cold energy during the regasification process and use it, for example, to chill the catch. And the trend within this area is that we are moving away from this silo-based design thinking towards a more integrated view on the entire energy system. And a good example of integrated design in practice is the Perseiner that you see a picture of here. It's called Salvok Senior. It can run both on marine fuel and also on LNG. It has a 1 megawatt-hour battery pack, and it's equipped with electrical winches and cranes that actually regenerate useful energy when braking. And it also has cold energy recovery when operating on LNG. The last driver is safety. Safety is increasingly becoming a development trend in its own right, both because risks are amplified at sea, but also because society places a greater emphasis on HSE and crew safety. So the daily reality for fishers is that they must be resilient, they must be self-reliant when failures or breakdowns occur, because the help might be very far away. And as new technologies, more complex systems are introduced, the competence requirements for crew and engineers also rises. And this development then demands that onboard systems comply with the different standards that we have, national and regional regulations. And these frameworks must then also be updated as the technology evolves, and design decisions should be supported by risk assessments in collaboration with the stakeholders. So policymakers play a crucial role here. Consistent safety regulations, support for crew training and education, and also clear requirements for fail-safe system design are essential to kind of enable the transition moving forward, and also for a safer work environment for the fishers. So if we look at the current trends, but also look further ahead, we see that there is a clear potential to improve energy efficiency, to improve system control, and also equipment sizing. So progress is being made, but it's being made at different speeds across regions and vessel types. And a few points are worth highlighting for the future of refrigeration at sea. So the first point is that temperatures are rising, and that includes seawater temperatures. This, of course, directly affects the performance of refrigeration systems, and it just underscores that it's critical to develop energy efficient systems going forward. Secondly, we see that high GWP refrigerants are still widely used. We kind of need to accelerate the shift toward natural refrigerants, but we must also recognize that many existing vessels will operate for years and therefore require different retrofit pathways and new builds. Thirdly, product quality demand are increasing, and wild fisheries, they are driven by biological. So you have stocks fluctuating between years, you have species that migrate, and the catch composition changes from year to year. And this means that future vessels must be more adaptable and able to handle a broader range of species, and also processing needs to have full catch utilization. So finally, we think that real innovation, it happens through targeted research and development and industry collaborations. But the challenges, they differ across segments. So there is no single global solution that works for everything. The solutions must be targeted. And ending on that note, I will give my colleague Alex to show some concrete examples on this.
Yes, thank you, Eirik, and also thank you, Monique, for the introduction. I will now show you two smaller RSV systems that I worked on during my master thesis. And maybe you remember the picture that Christina showed in her presentation. There was this machinery room. And you also maybe remember that there was not much space in that picture. So space is very crucial when designing refrigeration systems for fishing vessels. And here to the right, you see the laboratory system that we had here at Sintef Ocean, which is a bit bigger, but it can be designed so it can also fit in the trunk of your car. So we really try to make it as small as possible. And down here, you see the RSV water tank that we filled up with fresh seawater coming from the ocean in Trondheim, where we then did some experiments with it. So as mentioned before, carbon dioxide is used as a refrigerant for refrigeration systems in medium-sized fishing vessels. So we try to optimize those systems due to efficiency, since for the fishermen, it's very important to have an economy-friendly system. And here in Norway, we have colder temperatures where the CO2 runs very good, but in warmer temperature regions, like tropical regions, CO2 needs to be improved. The system has to be more improved. So with this system, I basically worked on optimizing the system for operation under high temperature conditions, from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius water temperature. To the system itself, it has a cooling capacity of 10 kilowatts. It consists of a rotary compressor with a variable frequency control, and it also has custom-made Titan heat exchanger to just decrease the fouling effects. If we talk about pros and cons, some things have been already mentioned. But the pros here is that due to the high heat transfer with CO2, we can make rather compact systems. And carbon dioxide is very good for the use of a natural refrigerant, since it is not toxic as ammonia and it's also not flammable as propane. The cons here is that we have high operation pressures. So that means that the components has to be designed and selected due to those pressures. That will also mean that the system overall would get a bit more expensive. And we also, as already mentioned, have this rapid efficiency decrease in warm climates. So the challenge here is to implement efficiency increasing components. And then doing my master thesis, I also had the chance to do a research stay in India, where I then investigated the propane system. I will try to, yeah. So here you can see the small propane RC system that I investigated at the University BITS Pilani. That system is part of a more wider project called Indy3. And that system is a demonstrational unit. So that should demonstrate the usage of propane also in India. For this system, it was rebuilt to a flake ice system, which then produced, as you can see in the picture in the bottom, flake ice. Why did they do this? It's because the fishermen in India, they're so used to use ice to cool the fish. So they rather, instead of a typical RC system, would use this flake ice to use the ice to actively cool the fish in that way. But at the university at BITS Pilani, we plan to rebuild the system, make it more compact, to implement it on a small fishing vessel. So a bit to the specifications here. The system has a cooling capacity of 13 kilowatts. The compressor here is belt driven by the boat motor. So that makes it also very useful in terms of space usage. And the overall performance of the system is it's producing 100 kilograms of flake ice per hour for 10 hours daily. So we estimated it with 10 hours operation time per day. The pros here is that it's suitable for low charge and compact systems. And other to CO2, it's highly flammable. So it requires trained operators and ventilation systems.
Thank you very much, Eric and Alex. Thank you for diving more precisely into refrigeration systems and the case studies. I noted the importance of taking into account the conditions on board, the need for more compact system, and also the importance of safety when introducing more advanced technologies and natural refrigerants. So now I would like to open the floor for questions. I see we have a few questions already that were submitted in the Q&A box. Please continue to ask questions, and we will answer them as many as possible in the time we have. So I will read the questions that have been submitted so far. So to all speakers, I think all three speakers could contribute to this question. It was asked if the concepts that you presented are also applicable to retrofits.
I think those that we presented now, the cases are for new ones. It's very difficult, I think, to kind of use an existing system and fill a completely new. For some refrigerants, it might be possible, but the cases that we present are mainly when we are installing a new system. We need to go for these systems that can last for a long time. There was also a question I saw about safety with hydrocarbons, and it's very, very relevant. And then, yes, that's often the issue with hydrocarbons, that they are dangerous. What the ideas here, and many also in other situations, is to put them outside, so that if there is a leakage, it should be vented off. But these things, you saw the system with the propane, it's as it is now, it's a bit too big also for putting on a vessel. So the development goes into smaller systems and also making it, of course, safe.
I can add a little bit to that, because my point on the safety is not that propane is inherently safe. It is flammable. But that is also precisely why safety has become such an important trend in development, right? So as we kind of transition towards refrigerants like R290, the standards and the regulations must also then adapt. We need to have some modern system design to kind of reduce the risks associated. So if we want to reduce climate impact and also maintain high safety level, we need to have updated rules. We also need training of crews and system designs that kind of accommodate this transition.
Okay.
And this is not only for hydrocarbons, it's for all refrigerants. Also, synthetic refrigerants are flammable, so you need to take care of that as well.
Thank you very much, Christina and Eric. Just to complete this topic, was also asked, so is there any recommendation that you could do? What would you recommend for retrofits?
It depends on the system that they have. So I don't think there is one answer to that. The issue with which is maybe more clear when it comes to fishing vessels than on land is that if you have a leakage on a fishing vessel of R22, let's say, that would be difficult to fill in Norway. But since the fishing vessels can go to another country and fill R22 there, it's a bit more tricky to regulate. It's open waters, which maybe don't push the change that early as in the refrigeration systems on land, where you could have a bit more control of what you filled it with.
Okay. Thank you very much, Christina. Another question, this time regarding ammonia. And the question is, with ammonia used as fuel, is cold recovery from vaporizing ammonia being done?
Yeah, maybe Eric, you want to say something about that?
I'm not sure. I can't cite any reference where cold recovery from ammonia is being done, but I did show at least one example of a fishing vessel that can operate on LNG, and they have installed a heat exchanger, which is then meant to recover energy from the regasification process of LNG.
And I also think that the ammonia can be used as fuel in different ways without me going. I'm not an expert on that. So, but there is a lot of discussion, and for the big vessels in Norway, they really have to decide what to go for, because yes, LNG is a little bit better than oil, but it's still fossil fuel. So there are a lot of political discussions on which directions to go and if they should go for hydrogen or so. There is not one easy solution. There are many things to think about. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I see in the comment section said that cold energy recovery from LNG was mentioned. I think Eric, you mentioned that in your presentation. And so the participant asked if there's an approximated cooling capacity from the LNG regasifier.
We actually have a joint project with the vessel that I presented right now, where we are trying to gather data to see how much the effect really is. What I know is that they have installed a heat exchanger with a capacity of 150 kilowatts, but what they are able to how much they are able to recover, we are working on getting that data.
Okay. Thank you very much. A question, I think, for one of the case study that Alex presented, and the question is regarding the system refrigeration with CO2. Is the system use transcritical or subcritical?
Since we tested it under elevated temperatures for the water, it ran transcritical.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was a precise question, a simple answer. Another question, are there any consideration taken into how corrosive seawater can impact piping material and refrigerant selection?
Yes, it of course matters. You use often titanium heat exchanger on board, which is good because it can stand seawater, but it's also expensive. So it all depends on where it is and how it's used, and also other consideration, which is more in general when it comes to refrigerants and components.
Thank you very much. A question now regarding ammonia. Ammonia seems like the proven solution, easier than CO2 or hydrocarbons. I'm reading the participant question. What will be the limits regarding ammonia? Is it cost? Is it equipment availability? Safety concerns? So what will be the limits or the challenges to take into account if one wants to use ammonia?
I would say it differs from different regions or different vessels, and so it's all comes down to what is it a large vessel or is it a small vessel? Do they have the proper training for using that? I think it's difficult to give a one answer to that. But I think it's if someone wants to discuss it, we could maybe do that separately when we get a little bit more details on that.
Okay. I think perhaps we've addressed that question as well. I'm sorry, I'm going through the comments. I see a comment about, so has industry considered liquid nitrogen for both refrigeration and freezing?
I don't know, but I think that is maybe quite expensive.
Okay.
If someone else has any input.
No, I don't know about that.
Okay. I think we already addressed the question for retrofits. Christina, you said that there wasn't one size fits all, but it's a very important question. So I don't know if you have anything further to add to regarding any recommendations or considerations for retrofits, because it's as we said in the introduction, there's a large part of the fleet is older vessels, so it's a really pressing issue of retrofits.
Yeah, we have not worked very much with retrofits either, so I think there might be others who are better to answer questions on when it comes to retrofit. But what we have seen is that here in Norway they have changed from for example R22 and exchanged that to a new system with, for example, ammonia. The efficiency is much higher. Not only because of the refrigerant, because it's a new system. So that is also something to look into, that it's not only about the refrigerant, you also get a much more efficient system. You maybe cool down the fish more efficiently, and you can store maybe more higher capacities of the catch. So and also back to what I presented, that the fuel is also fossil often. So if you increase the energy efficiency, you also reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from the fuels. So I think when possible, it's better to change to a system that can last then for 30 new years with much better values.
Okay, thank you very much. I see that there's a comment regarding has anyone done an LCCP studies for a shipping vessel over the life of the fishing vessel to understand what the focus should be? So do you have any comments on the life cycle climate performance for refrigeration systems on fishing vessels?
Not that I know of. In general, because what you could say is it worth to install refrigeration systems that use energy to produce cold compared to just carrying the fish? That would be interesting to look on. In general, it's often better to do refrigeration, to add a little bit energy to do that. But on the other hand, you have less food loss. So in total, it's a benefit then.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm reading now. I think it's more a comment than a question, but perhaps you can react to it as well. A comment from one of our participants. So he says that while progress has been made in reducing direct emission through better containment and low GWP refrigerants, indirect emissions from energy use remain far greater over a system's life cycle. For vessels, these indirect emissions translate into significant fossil fuel consumption. Therefore, the main focus should be, according to the participant, should be on improving system efficiency, not just refrigerant choice. So a holistic approach is needed, considering energy efficiency, size, weight, refrigerant emissions, and maintenance for onboard refrigeration and AC systems. What do you think about this comment?
No, I think it's important, and this is also something that you saw the links to some projects we are working with that is specifically in India. But in general, we think it's important to show all these aspects of it, to work with improving energy efficiency. It should be easy to handle the systems and operate the systems, and so I think it's good points, and information and training is essential. So hopefully we can also continue to do this and share even more detailed information than in this technology brief.
Thank you very much. There are very a lot of comments in the chat and in the Q&A. And we're very happy that the topic seems to be very interesting for our participants. So I will read one last question before we close. So what is the climate impact of making these refrigerant changes versus fuel changes to run the ship?
Good question. If someone has funding for that project, I would like to join. There seems to be some discussions also in chat back and forth, so it's good that people give input as well.
Okay. So thank you so much. Well, do you have any comments? I don't know, Eric, Alex, regarding the impact of refrigerant changes versus fuel changes?
No, as Christina says, it would be great to fund something to kind of go into that. Sure, there are things that you probably can do on all kinds of vessels to reduce, let's say, fuel use or even change the fuel that on paper might be more, let's say, effective. But for some fishing vessels, at least, we have seen that refrigerant accounts for quite a lot of the total energy use. So targeting both issues, I think, is the way forward at least.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our speakers for answering the question. Thank you so much for the participants for a very engaging and lively conversation in the chat. We welcome you to continue the conversations on all IIR communication channels. And to conclude now, I would like to invite Josh Alush, our Director General at IIR, to share closing remarks and next steps. Over to you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you very much, Monique. Thank you for the moderation. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to share appreciations and thanks to Jim, to UNEP team Ozone Action. We are very honored, and it's a great privilege for us to have this second webinar with you all. I would like also to take this opportunity to thank our speakers, our authors, our knowledgeable IIR experts for your work and for this presentation. And last but not the least, I would like to thank the audience for your engagement. I've seen the chat box very busy, so thank you for asking your questions. So I could see that, and I recognize this is a very, thank you for sharing the slides. Interesting topic on fishing vessels, which provide us with ocean food sources. As you said, Christina, the IR has estimated 19% of the global seafood produce, which is lost due to the lack of cold chains. But also these resources are also impacted by CO2 emissions, which also result in the acidification of seawater. This is also important to mention. And if this trend continues in the future, the availability of the fish and seafood will be much reduced, impacting the main source of protein for more than 1 billion of the most vulnerable people in the world. So refrigeration for the seafood is important, not only from an economic perspective, but also it's a matter of food safety, food quality, so providing the consumer with a quality food. But also there is another aspect, which is the waste of energy which is spent to catch this produce, which is lost if we don't have cold chains. So Christina, you were mentioning 5 million approximately small fishing vessels worldwide. So imagine all this without refrigeration plant, and imagine all the associated issues with the safety and quality. But hopefully solution exists. Is about cold chain. Christina, you were showing in this graph. So only moving or decreasing or increasing the temperature of the chilling product by 4 degrees, this reduce 60% of the practical storage life. That's a huge, only 4 degrees. So you were also showing some adequate solutions, RSV, blast freezers, which can accommodate 25 kilos of fish, which is good for small fishing vessels. The brine freezing, which is more efficient than air freezing in terms of improved heat transfer. The potential for heat-powered refrigeration systems. So opportunities, they are here through energy efficiency, as you said, Eric, but you were referring also to the digitalization, the early leak detection and anomalies identification, which is also a matter of energy efficiency, but also referring to the data historical catch, which is very also informative in terms of energy efficiency. Thermal integration as well. So solutions are here together with adopting low GWP refrigerants. HFOs are available, but also you have seen the big potential for natural refrigerant as well. So which are also very energy efficient. No ODP, no GWP, low GWP. So still there is a large use of R22, but ammonia has always historically performing, so it's very well demonstrated. Alex, you were showing the CO2 performing very well as well, mainly in cold climate, but also you were talking about, the space constraint and the potential for CO2 to offer a more compact design as well. Speaking about this, we do believe that this is a transition which should be guided by the One Health approach. So this is an approach, an initiative which is led by the quadripartite, UNEP, WHO, FAO, and WOHA. And we recognize that it is very important to make this vision a reality, to coordinate global action on policy mandates for onboard chilling and freezing systems, education and trainings for fishers and operators, enforcing the phase out of harmful refrigerants, investing in innovative, scalable low GWP refrigerant technologies, and the digitalization as previously mentioned. Next, please. So this is an open invite for you to join us for our next webinar on the 9th of December, where we will be promoting and informing about our next technical brief together with UNEP Ozone Action, Refrigerated Transport in Hot Climates, Challenges and Innovation. So please scan this QR code. You are very welcome to participate. So 9 December at 2 p.m. And I would like also to take this opportunity again to invite you to join our 9th IIR conference on sustainability and the cold chain, which will take place in Istanbul from 12 to 14 April 2026. So please scan this QR code and join us. I won't also miss this opportunity to inform about emerging technologies, the cooling, solid state cooling technologies emerging, like Thermomag. We'll inform about it in June in Ljubljana, and then we have the Natural Refrigerant Conference, Gustav Lauritsen Conference in New Zealand in August, and the PCM 2026 in Xi'an in September. So you are very welcome to scan this QR code, register, and join the IIR network. Last but not the least, an open call to join our flagship event, the International Congress of Refrigeration in South Korea in August 21st to 27th. So you are all welcome to join us and to join the IR community. I think I'm done from my side. Thank you so much again for your interest. And thank you, Jim and Ozone Action, for the very invaluable support and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you all for participating. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Christina, Eric, Alex, and Jim. And thank you all for participating. And don't hesitate to follow up on...
Nice applause. Just to mention that we were very happy to have more than 100 participants. So thank you for being there.
Probably, Monique, 1 minute, 1 second. If I may, can I invite to all of the speakers to open your cameras so I can take a screenshot for the photo?
Yeah.
Can you stop the screen, probably, Monique, so I can take a screenshot? Thank you so much. Great. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Yoser. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.